All right, welcome back to the show. I'm here with Chris, the owner of Stanley Steamer in this region, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so franchise, and we've started to have a few more franchises on, and I'm excited to hear your story about owning this franchise, because a lot of people think, oh, it's all corporate, and they get in the mood.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you're a local business owner.
We're a local
You have
business.
local employees.
Local employees.
We want to support that.
Yes. Own the property here on Green River Road. In fact, when we started out in Evansville, there was nothing around here. This was like the only building here in the gas station, which everything popped up around us.
Nice.
And that was back in '93. But I started as a franchisee with Stanley Steamer in 1987 in Bloomington, Indiana.
Okay.
December 27th of 1987.
1987. Now, why did you want to go into business with Stanley Steamer?
Well, you know, it was kind of a by chance lucky thing, I say, in a way. I had spent 4 years in the Marine Corps. I came out of the Marine Corps, did a couple odds and end jobs. I kind of was flailing around. And a buddy of mine said, was Stanley Steamer's hiring? And this was back in March of '86. And I'm like, what's Stanley Steamer? It's like, well, it's a carpet cleaning company. I'm like, well, what kind of money will I make? They said, well, you make about $250, $300 a week. And, you know, back in '86, that wasn't terrible money. And I thought I was going to enroll to Ohio State that summer and go to college that fall. But after I started working for the company, you know, opportunity started presenting itself.
Nice. What were you wanting to go to college for?
Well, I wasn't sure. I just thought it was a next thing, because my life at that point in time, I sold vacuum cleaners, I sold this picture product, and I sold cars. I didn't see myself working in a factory or anything like that. But I really didn't know what I wanted to do. You know, I was kind of, you know, just flying with the breeze, so to say.
Yeah. So, that being said, you end up at Stanley Steamer. How long before you're in a leadership position?
Well, I spent about 6 months as an assistant, and then I got promoted to being a crew chief. So we worked as two-man crews, and so at that particular time, I was designated as a crew chief. So from that point on, then I was the head of the truck, and you wanted to be the head of the truck because you made about 50% more money than the other guy. So
that sounds good.
I always wanted that guy's seat, and I always wanted to be in the person's seat that was doing better or making more.
That's awesome. So what did you do in the Marine Corps, and did that play an impact on your leadership?
Well, when I went in the Marine Corps, I was a high school dropout. And midway through my junior year of high school. Back then, they would take 2 non-high school grads or a convict. I'm kidding about the convict. But they would take 2 non-high school grads a month. So I joined the military under open contract, which I found out later that means you were going to be in the infantry.
Okay.
But after I went through boot camp and after I went through infantry training school out at in Camp Pendleton in California, I was then selected for C School. For C School, I didn't know this, but they were doing a background check on me, and I had no record of any kind. And back then, it was so no computers, they couldn't find a record if you had one. But anyway, I was given a secret security clearance and went through a school. So I really spent no time in the infantry. I then went on an aircraft carrier with 60 Marines, and we guarded special weapons and the brig. And then from there, I went to Brunswick, Maine, which was a naval air station with about 60 Marines, and we guarded the special weapons there. So I basically guarded special weapons my whole entire time when I was
Can I ask what the special weapons are?
It was a part of the secret security clearance, so
that's
I'm not allowed.
Okay. It doesn't hurt to ask if you can ask.
That's true.
That's right. We can't put you in a weird spot. That'd be unfortunate. So aircraft carrier, those things are tight quarters, right?
Whoa, wow, yeah. So it was 5,500 people. In a room this small, about 30 of us lived.
That's a lot of people.
I mean, when you think of racks, we had 4 racks high, head to toe, going across, then in the middle, then a little fake wall in between there, and then the racks going this way. So yeah, it was, you know, time out at sea, a bunch of 18, 19-year-old guys. It was a little tight.
Yeah, I believe it. Probably didn't smell too good either.
Actually, fortunately it did. If somebody stunk, you know, we were Marines, so we gave them, whoops.
Look at that, I don't believe that. Yeah.
We gave them a hard time, and they conducted their hygiene appropriately.
Nice. That's good. That's good. So you said you went to Maine?
I spent a couple years almost 2 years in Maine.
Almost 2 years in Maine. I've never been to Maine, but I'd like to go. Do you recommend it?
I think you should definitely go in the summer. The winters start in late September and don't end until the beginning of June.
Okay.
So definitely go in the summer.
Go in the summer. All right. I'll put it down. So that's awesome. Okay, cool. So you get out of the Marines, you do this. Crew chief, or is it crew chief?
Yeah, I became a crew chief.
Sweet. What's next?
Well, I was working for the company as a crew chief for about a year, and I was making really, really good money. I just had gotten married, had a little baby, but I was making basically that next full year. I made $31,000 as a crew chief, and so this is between late '86 and late '87 before I ended up going to business. I made $31,000 as a crew chief, which was big money.
What do you think that is today?
I would think that it's probably like 60 or 70 at least. Put it this way, my rent was $150 a month. I didn't have,
That's pretty good.
There was no such thing as a cell phone. And I didn't have a credit card or a car payment. So, my take home was like $1,000 every 2 weeks. And so I was banking $400 to $500 every 2 weeks to save money, to do whatever I was going to do. I wasn't sure what I was going to do at this time.
I think like the average cheapest to get an apartment here in Evansville is like $875.
Yeah,
That's almost, you could almost say 10x
Yeah.
probably average across the board in general. That's
I
crazy.
felt like I was rich making $31,000, saving that kind of money when I was basically 22, 23 years old.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. Did your wife do anything?
She worked at a Bob Evans restaurant. We had a little baby, so she kind of worked part-time. But her mother lived 2 doors down from us, so she helped watch the baby. And, she had family there in that area, which helped watch the baby. So we kind of split the duties on that.
That's awesome. Yeah, you guys were raking it in, it sounds like.
It felt like we were.
So you're like high school dropout to awesome super soldier to business owner. Successful.
Well, at this time, I'm still just working for the company.
But now you're a successful business owner.
People call me successful. I feel fearful every day as I'm in business because I think that if you get complacent and you don't fear going out of business, then that's when it can sneak in. So I keep, my radar up all times and,
That's good.
Always monitor all the barometers to make sure everything is moving in the right direction.
So what's the key there? Like how do you manage the fear? Because you can't be like always running 120%, right?
No, I mean, I've been in business now since '87, so we're talking 36, 37 years. I've put the company in a financial position that I don't necessarily have to worry about, oh my God, a bad week, I could be done. Mm-hmm. But, in the early parts in business, I mean, it's a struggle. There's a lot to it. And as you said, you're learning a new business and, boy, you learn this, you learn that. And as myself, I was a high school dropout. And when things started happening, I realized that I needed to educate myself. So, I gravitated towards every business book that I could read, whether it was, no matter who it was about, a lot of biographies, whether it was Jack Welch or even our current president, Donald Trump. I read a book that he wrote that said, was called Think Big, which actually was a great book. But I read so many business books, so many sales books. And I basically self-educated myself, and I feel like throughout all the years I've given myself a master's in business through my readings and experience.
That's awesome. Super cool. So what did it look like to start the franchise here? Were you starting, like how much from scratch are you starting with? What does that look like? I have no idea.
Well, when I started my first franchise, which was in Bloomington, this was in '87, there was no business whatsoever. I started with one truck running it out of my house. And by the time that I was going in business, I had about $12,000 saved, and the franchisor didn't want any of my money, which I thought to me was a great thing because he financed me for everything. But what I understand, he was telling me kind of pie in the sky. He said, well, you own these counties, so there's no brick and mortar, but he sold them to me back then for $50,000, and he said, no money down, no payments the first year, interest only on the first year, which was a balloon payment on 10% interest of $50,000, which was $5,800. The first year was due. And I remember my brother telling me, I don't think you're very smart going into business. You're going to lose all your money. And at that time, I was 23, and I said, well, I have nothing to lose, and if I lose it, I'll just start over doing something, but this is pulling me. And so I was very motivated to make my brother wrong. And, I knew my overhead was about $4,000 a month. And so, and I had no business at first. I did $582 in sales my first 10 days in business. I'm knocking on doors trying to clean free spots. And then I started going to lawyers' offices, asking about getting incorporated because they kind of said I would need to do that one day. And I really didn't know what it meant. But since I really didn't have a lot of money, I was just looking at getting an appointment in a law office because I knew that they'd have a lot of carpet in their place and maybe I could get a job out of it.
That's awesome. So did it work?
It did. I ended up doing 4,800 in sales the first month. Bought a coupon. Back then they had these little coupons with missing children on the back, and did one of those. And my second month I did 19,000 in sales. And so the first year we did 248,000 in sales, and from there I was off to the races.
That's awesome. So you instantly proved your brother wrong.
Well, I didn't call that out right out of the gate because, maybe I was lucky the first year, but
you don't want to stick your foot in your mouth.
But, about 4 years later, he told me he was wrong, so I didn't have to tell him he was wrong.
That's the classy way to do it. You just keep working, do your thing, don't rub anybody's faces. Yeah, sweet. So now you're here. You got a building, Evansville.
So we started this in '93. The gentleman that owned this business at the time, it's not important to say his name. I wouldn't want to make him feel bad. But at the end of the day, the sales, the gross company sales of this company was about $150,000, and this was '93. And basically, he was not paying his bills with Stanley, Steemers National, and he owed them money in the arrears from back royalty and supplies. And so I was asking about the opportunity here, and they said, well, this may be coming up, and we're going to sell it for, if he can't come up with the money to pay us, we're going to sell it for what he owes them. And anyway, they gave him a certain amount of time for him to pay the company, and he didn't. And so I got to take over this in November 1st of 1993.
Nice. So was he just not doing good with sales? Is that really what it was at the end of the day?
Well, I would say he wasn't doing good with sales, but there's so many different components that happen. Whether it's, I don't know whether he worked hard himself. I don't know what his wife did in the business or anything. So, but yeah, his sales were lackluster for sure.
Okay. So, how did your when you first started, your door to door, boom, 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 boom. Is that still your strategy when you're taking over, or what did you do differently?
Well, here, because they already had a baseline of sales, what was kind of funny is I took over November 1st of 1993, and this operation had already been in business. Just started answering the phones, didn't spend a penny advertising, just answered the phones, brought a couple people from Bloomington to help, a couple of the people that were working here came back. And we ended up doing 30,000 in sales the first month I took over in business here. And one of the former employees said, wow, what are you doing different that the last owner didn't do? And I said, nothing really crazy. I said, this is a pretty simple business at this point. I said, answer the phone and do the work.
That's awesome. That's
Which
great.
I think still applies to a lot of businesses today. I mean, we've all ran into businesses that, you call them up and you want services and they don't call you back. Yeah. Or, you go to a restaurant and you get crappy service, or, in any kind of business. I mean, I think there's 3 keys to any kind of business. 1, after you get going, market it. 2, do what you say you're going to do, find out what the customers want, and make them happy.
It's that simple.
It's really that simple.
That's awesome.
And then pay Uncle Sam. And if you're part of a franchise system, pay your royalties.
So what does the franchise system look like? Like, how does that help you with running a business? And are there any hindrances that you think a franchise brings?
Well, for our system, I think it's a wildly wonderful system. The franchisor is still alive. He started it himself back in the 70s. He's now 78 years old. I've got a great relationship with him, and I've traveled with him. But he's also in the business as well. They own branches throughout the country. 40% of this company is company-owned sales, 60% is franchise sales. So they do a lot of trial and error in different arenas. And so I get to watch them either succeed or fail before I decide to make the next move.
That's nice. Now, when it comes to marketing with a franchise, what does that look like? Because some companies, since I do commercials, this is what interests me. Some companies will be like, okay, we've made commercials, we're pushing it out everywhere. Like Chick-fil-A, for example, like they get marketing materials, but then they also do some of their stuff locally, where it's like, okay, we're gonna support this, support this, support this. So is there like, what does that look like with Stanley Steemer?
Well, it's basically the same thing. They produce a lot of marketing material, whether it's TV commercials or print. I am free to do whatever I want to do as long as they approve. Like I've made my own TV commercials before. I have to make the commercial. They have to approve it so that it fits within their professional standards. And then for us, we have to spend a percentage of our sales on marketing, and whatever my sales are, we have to spend minimally 10%, which I didn't know this back at the time, but you know, even when you think about Coca-Cola or Ford or all these companies that you think, wow, they've been around, you wouldn't think they have to spend that much money marketing. Well, they do. You got to keep name recognition out there because even in the new digital world, you know, Google owned search, but now you got ChatGPT, you know, that's really sneaking up on them and kind of blindsiding them. You look at the different things that have went on, you know, in retail or anything with the internet, and you know, the market's always evolving. So just because it works today doesn't mean it's going to be the same tomorrow. So you really gotta research and evolve with what's going on. You know, if not, you become a dinosaur, which I'm trying to stay away from at 61 years old.
You don't want to be a dinosaur.
No.
And I mean, there's going to be no use for dinosaurs if we're trying to go switch to
They
electric.
They go extinct.
Gas, yeah.
They go extinct.
Okay, so here's my question for you then. With franchises, I mean, I'm sure you know like personal brands with social media and stuff. Like it's a big thing. You see small local businesses. Like today, I saw a video of it was some Chevy dealership. I don't remember where it was, but just like a local dealership. They did like office style shorts of all their employees. You watched The Office, I'm sure. Heard of The Office, right? NBC. And they went from like their 10,000 followers to like 140,000 followers in like a month or two. And like their sales like just because people are like, "Oh, that's fun." It's like a little mini TV show, and then you get to go there and meet all those people, and then you can buy vehicles there. So it's like this perfect like little like miniature Hollywood superstar. There's a company, a coffee shop that did something similar in New York as well. So it's like, okay, so now people are making their own little mini TV show series that are just the minute-long episodes, personal branding. How do you think that will affect franchises? Or can a franchise even do that?
Well, I believe anything and everything is possible, and I think that if you sell anything short, you'd be naive and potentially stifling yourself, because whether it's how you market your company or it's whether the services that you provide, it evolves. If you think back at IBM, they used to sell desktop computers. Well, nobody hardly buys desktop computers, and if IBM didn't morph throughout the years, they wouldn't be in business. We used to just clean carpets and furniture, you know, when I went into business. Well, you know, now we clean as much tile and hardwood and we do air duct services. So, you know, because hard services over the last 20, 25 years is, really proliferated the markets. We've had to morph ourselves too, because if we were just cleaning carpets, we'd be down the tubes like a lot of people, because yes, there's carpets, but now there's throw rugs and, there's just all types of surfaces to clean. So, you've got to constantly evolve. So I feel with the marketing thing, I think that, you have to try new things. You have to be innovative, and you have to see what works and what doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, pull the plug. And if it's working, pile onto it. And,
yeah.
Because when it's good, ride it when it's hot.
Awesome. Very cool. Okay. Well, what else do you got for us? You got any extra good stories where you're like, this was really crazy event of the business?
Well, I brought my daughter into the company a little over 10 years ago, and she's been a tremendous asset. One of the things that was really fun as my career started growing, because I told you I started in Bloomington, then I bought Evansville, and so I've lived in Indiana from '87. I was born and raised in Ohio. I was adopted, from my parents when I was 6 months old. And from there, then I bought more locations, and I've been in Terre Haute, been in Louisiana, Texas, California, Washington State.
Like you have locations in those states?
Yes. I've sold a couple off here because kind of what's happened is, one location was bigger than a different location. So when I got a chance to buy a bigger location, I may have sold off a smaller location so I could raise the capital to buy the bigger location to not feel like I was running on a shoestring.
Nice. So how many locations do you have now?
I've got 6 right now.
6 locations. Very nice. That's awesome. Super cool. I tell you what, this has been inspiring. Your story has. Like, just sitting here talking, I'm like, man, get me out there.
You can crop this out, right?
Yeah, sure.
I didn't tell Joe any of this. He's probably sitting here like, I didn't know any of this.
I didn't know what I was getting into.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, it's obviously been a life-changing dream. As I said, I didn't know how it was going to work out, and that it was going to work out this way. And from my early beginnings of just being a childhood, and my parents dying when I was 6 months old, and being raised by people that were way older than me, and everything that happened growing up, and the people that were older, I wasn't a dumb kid, but they didn't preach about school and college, so I just always tried to make a dollar somehow or another. And my father was a truck driver, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and I'll never forget what motivated me to figure out how to try to make a dollar. Back then, Chuck Taylor Converse All-Stars were the cool tennis shoes to have, and they were almost $13 a pair. We're talking about 1978. And so I'd had a couple dollars that I'd made from shoveling snow, and a friend of mine sold me his worn out pair of Chuck Taylor Converse All-Stars for $2. And I come home wearing these Converse All-Stars with holes in them, and my mom said, "Where did you get those shoes?" And I said, "I bought it from my friend's older brother." And she said, "You paid for those?" And I said, "Yes." She goes, "How much?" I said, $2. She goes, "Who?" I said, "John Young." She goes, "We're going right there right now. He's giving your money back for these police shoes." But I realized that when I made money, that it gave me the power of choice. So she thought I got ripped off on that deal. So I went out and made a little more money, and I bought a new pair, and she didn't say anything. And I realized, wow, if I buy my own new stuff, even if she can't afford to buy it, then I can do it on my own. So it kind of empowered me at kind of an early age, right around 12, when I figured that some of my friends had things that my parents weren't willing to spend money on, or had the money to spend money on. So it was inspiring to me, understanding at an early age that if I made my own money, I controlled my own destiny.
Awesome. That's super fun. Super fun. So now what are you trying to do with your money? Any big purchases on the horizon?
Well, I love the stock market. As far as, I've got grandkids that are grown that I'm going to put through college. And, so just with family life and all that, we got some fun family vacations planned in the future. And as I get older, I plan on doing more in that and spending time with the family and, seeing how I can help them all out.
That's awesome. How much longer are you going to keep doing all this?
Hopefully until I die.
That's good. That's a good mindset. Because if you don't, then you just get lazy and then you slow down and then your health deteriorates and it's like, that's no fun.
I love what I do, and it keeps me young and it energizes me. And like I said, I guess if I didn't love it anymore, then I would look to do something different, but I still love it.
That's awesome. Okay, well, we're at that point of the show where we need to start wrapping up. So we asked the one fun question, what's your favorite movie? Well,
it's the one movie that I've probably seen the most, and my all-time favorite movie, I think, is Shawshank Redemption. No matter what time of the movie it's on, if I'm flipping through and don't have anything to watch, and if I see that it's on TV, I stop and watch it.
Nice. I've never watched Shawshank Redemption.
Oh my gosh, one of the best movies of all time, I think.
Why is it your favorite movie?
Well, you had this guy that had a successful life, and he was wrongly convicted of murdering his wife, and then he spends basically over 30 years in a prison, wrongly convicted, and he breaks out and he gets the warden imprisoned, which he ends up shooting himself. And you just see all this thing that happens bad to this guy, and still at the end of the day, he comes out on top. He just never gives up his dream of freedom, and he never admitted to anything that he didn't do wrong, and he always did the right thing even when he was in jail, and he ultimately, got out and lived happily ever after.
Nice. Yeah, everybody tells me, they're like, Joe, you have to watch Shawshank Redemption. And I do. I have a lot of movies to watch.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, people, I'm at that point of life where it's like with the business, it's like that. People are like, what do you do for fun? I'm like, run a business.
Well, you're starting out yourself, and I remember when I started out, it was 90-hour weeks
Yep.
every week, and and it never felt like work. It just felt like that's what I do.
It's so fun. I talked to a buddy the other day, and I was telling him kind of like my schedule because I'm going on like a really hard 3-month grind just to like get to the next level of the business. Like we've been doing great, but it's like, okay, if we want to we need to get over this hump. We just got to put a little bit extra elbow grease in. And we've almost been running the business for a year, so I'm like, okay, here's what it takes. Here's what I'm like, I've never run a business before. So like, what would I don't know what I don't know. So now I'm like, now I know what I don't know a little bit. There's plenty I don't know. But anyways, I was like, so this is what I'm doing. He's like, man, are you gonna be flying a little close to the sun? I was like, nah. I'm like, cause this is fun. I'm like, I love this. It's like just getting to hang out all day.
Well, it's and you're going to find out, and as your business grows and as things evolve, it's awe-inspiring. It's a challenge. It's neat. It's what's next. It's you never know what's around the corner, and is there, and you're going to have good times, and you're going to have some rough spots, and the rough spots make you better at what you do, and so it makes you hold the whole complete package. My manager was telling me, he said, I've got a customer complaint. I said, I love customer complaints because I always looked at a customer complaint as a challenge. It's like, I know I'm going to make this person happy because, by golly, if I have to give them their money back and clean their carpets for free and give them a gift certificate for carpet cleaning next year, I mean, whatever it takes. I mean, I never judge companies, and I've always asked people when we all make mistakes, and you're going to make mistakes, it's like, don't judge a company by its mistake, judge it by how they handle the mistake, because everybody makes mistakes, and so, it's always a good way to look at any adversity that happens in business. Look at it as a challenge that you can overcome and climb to the top of the mountain.
That's awesome. I love that. That's really good. Okay, this is it. Last question. Who are 3 business owners you would like to see on the show?
Well, my wife, she's the president and owns Mortgage Masters. She is a phenomenal business person, and she's got a great story of her own. She's a very, very, very busy person. I would say another person maybe would be Chris Combs. He's a home builder. He used to be in the landscaping business, and he kind of morphed into a home builder, and he's got a really interesting story, and he's kind of my age and was a neighbor for a while, and he's a hardworking guy, and he's got a pretty good story. And then let's see, the third, the girl that I just had my hair cut today, she owns Hair Emporium over there.
Okay.
She started out cutting hair and then took the chance of leasing the spot and, getting some people. And I think she's been in business now for about 10 years, and I think she's in her mid-30s. And I think it's interesting, her story, how she's just kind of, started from being a hair cutter to owning a hair salon.
That's awesome. Well, make sure you subscribe so you can see those people on the show, Lord willing.
Okay,
So,
I'll do that.
Awesome. Well, yeah, you too. I was talking to the...
Okay.
And then we'll have links to your guys' Stanley Steamer in the comment section or description. And then if you want to watch another video, click right here. We'll see you guys next time.
All right. Thank you.